This afternoon, you're listening to the Todd LaBorwit Show, Real Estate Radio and Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. I'm your host, Todd LaBorwit, and this segment is brought to you by Topaz Mortgage, our preferred partner for mortgage brokering. And in the studio with us now is the none other Donald Paris. He's a CPA, an MST, and a CDFA. What is all those? I know what a CPA is, but what are these other initials you have, Don?
I have a master's degree in tax, and I am a certified divorce financial analyst.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well.
So how do you get involved with being a divorced financial analyst?
Basically, it all started years ago when some divorce attorneys called me and said, we need help with this case. And the practice just grows. And frankly, I'm the only CPA in the Washington area who is an active mediator for divorces. So
walk me through this. Someone goes through a divorce, they call their attorney, and then the attorney calls you and says, I need you to do this, or are you doing forensics?
I don't do any forensics. Basically, I'll get called at the beginning of the case. So the divorce has not occurred yet. They'll call me and say, we need help with this divorce. We need help understanding the finances of this divorce. And that's when the fun starts. And that's when I'm not mediating, but I do mediations. As I said, I'm the only active CPA in the Washington area who even does mediations.
Can you share one story that just sticks out?
Sure, no problem. So husband and wife come in, and they basically just cannot stand each other, beating each other from head to toe.
Hate each other.
Hate each other. And we start working through the numbers, and next thing you know, the ice in the room starts to melt. And then at the end, they look at each other and one says, I just want to make sure you're taken care of. The next one looks at them and says, you know what? I can't live with you, but I still love you. And they all start hugging. Wow. Yeah, exactly. That's a successful mediation for me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you go through this all the time.
I do on average, about 2 mediations a week. And I don't know how many other cases that I'm involved in just from the finance side.
Wonderful. Now, as far as like various ways that you achieve an agreement or a settlement for people's divorces, what are some of the benefit or problems that are with each method?
Well, there are a number of methods to divorce. Basically, one is to just work it out with your spouse at the table. If you can do that, fantastic. Most people can't. So sometimes they call lawyers. And most lawyers go straight to trying to negotiate the case between them. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. The next phase is mediation. So the lawyers might work in the background, just watching the mediator, like myself, try to get these people to yes. Sometimes that also works. It's a less expensive option, and there's always litigation. In the middle of all of that is a new process by law called collaborative practice, where the lawyers and the couple and even mental health professionals and the financial neutral are all in the same room at the same time. But the key to all of this really is trying to figure out whether the couple can control the outcome, or do they want to let a judge decide what the rest of their life is going to look like.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Do you come across people that try to use prenups and they break the seal? And
you come across an occasional prenup. I'm also dealing with post-nups, which some folks have never even heard of. But
can you explain that for our listeners?
Sure, no problem. A post-nuptial agreement, I am not a lawyer, but a post-nuptial agreement is one where you agree with the spouse after you've been married, as opposed to an agreement before you've been married. Prenup versus post-nup.
This makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Now, let me ask you, how do you deal with the homes when they're homeowners and both spouses are on the deed of the mortgage?
So when you have a situation like that, Todd, basically you try to figure out who's going to stay in the house, who's not going to stay in the house, or whether whether both parties even want to sell the house. So we try and find out what the direction of the couple even is. If both of them are on the deed, on the mortgage, and one of them wants to stay in the house, we have to refinance the property usually in order to get that one party off. Now, is there enough income to support that? Is the value there? You as a mortgage professional know all about this. Is the value there to be able to even have a mortgage? You have to answer all of those questions to be able to know that this plan that this couple even wants to do is even viable. So it's a two-step process.
But what do you do if they're underwater?
If they're underwater, then we have to try and figure out what the next step is for that. Basically, if it's underwater, what do we want to do? Does the couple have enough money to sell the property now and come to the table with money? Are they okay with waiting until the property is above water, has equity, if you will, and go from there? We have all these options to deal with.
Wonderful. Well, by the way, if you're just tuning in, I have with me Don Paris. He's a CPA, MST, and CDFA with his own firm. And I'm your host, Todd LaBorwit, and you're listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. Now, let's ask the tough questions. How do you deal with someone that owns a home that they purchased before they got married, and now they're living in the house, and then whose house is it?
Well,
and say they're both on the deed since they were married.
A key question to that is, are we dealing with litigation or are we dealing with negotiation, mediation, collaborative practice? The beauty of negotiation, collaborative practice, and mediation is that we control the outcome. It's not in court. It's not something that the judge is going to be deciding on for us. So we have to, if we assume that we're trying to control the outcome, then we try and figure out, now what does the couple want to do with it? We're in a state called fair and equitable distribution, as opposed to community property. We've all heard of that, like in California and Oregon and Texas. In those states, we have a 50-50 split. In Maryland, we have fair and equitable distribution, which means that as long as the deal is fair, then it's okay. And this couple comes to the table, decides what they want to do, make sure that all of the cards on the table, there's no misunderstandings of the parties. Now, what can we do with that? So if one party owns the property before, the question then becomes, did they refinance during? And now we have two people on the deed and two people on the mortgage. Where do they want to go with this? Did one person stay with the property the whole time and now we don't have others? There's all sorts of permutations with this that we have to kind of look through in order to decide what to do with it.
Wow. And what type of people are you seeing get divorced? Are you seeing people that have been married 20 years, 25 years, or people that have been married like 3 years and had a $200,000 wedding and they're already divorced?
I am seeing them all up and down the pike, Todd. I did a mediation the other day for a young couple where they'd only been married for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Easy. It was fast. It took us 45 minutes to mediate their case. That's it. In and out. Boom. I've seen couples where they're old and gray and have been together for a very long time and are basically just tired of being with the other person already. So it's not income dependent. It's not a factor of how much time they've been together. It's all over the board.
Wow. And you're not just doing this. You are also a CPA. You do taxes as well and corporate taxes.
I do. And tax is the predominant part of my practice. About 2/3 of my practice is tax, and about 1/3 of it is divorce.
And you have an office over in Rockville.
Yep.
Tell me a little about that view. It's I mean, you got, for those that are listening, if you're interested in like talking with Don Paris about CPA or litigation or the mediation, is you got to see his office.
Well, I'm privileged to say that I am at 51 Monroe Street, which is the tallest building in Rockville, on the penthouse floor. It's the 19th floor, facing west, so we get to see the weather coming in. And I'm within a group of amazing professionals, and we call it the Collaborative Practice Center. Predominantly attorneys who are surrounding me, and other folks that are affiliated with divorce. And it's an amazing place.
That's wonderful. Well, what I'd like to offer you, our listeners, an opportunity to get in touch with Don Paris if you have any questions. Just call or text me at 301-467-8444. That number again is 301-467-8444. And if you want to see his video segment, you can go to our website at www.theinsidescoopwithtodd.com. That's www.theinsidescoopwithtodd.com. Now, Don, let's talk about hobbies. We're running out of time, but tell us, what are some things you like to do?
I really don't have a heck of a lot of hobbies. I'm one of those guys that actually goes to work early in the morning. I'm there usually by 0700, and I'm out and I spend time with my wife and my dog, and I start it all again the next day. I'm pretty boring that way, but I think it's a pretty great life. So
it is. Well, you got to have something.
Something?
I got to get something out of you.
I'm sorry, bud. I just don't really have a lot of
You come in here, you're like sharply dressed. You look great. You're healthy.
Okay, I just got back from vacation.
Okay.
So there you go. I love to travel. Is that
travel? There we got it. We got it out of him. We got something out of a CPA on a personal level.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Not a problem.
And it's amazing. I personally know Don, and he's one of the most amazing CPAs, most knowledgeable people that I know about if you ever have a question about taxes. So get in touch with me if you want to get in touch with him. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, Todd.